So, hi everybody, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. And thanks in particular to Brittany Moniz from Harvard Business School. We got an email maybe a few weeks ago with just a great opportunity. We've always appreciated partnering with HBS Core. It's a great program that people have taken advantage of from Bowdoin every year because we have a partnership relationship. But just a few weeks ago, we got an email that said, you know, we've been really thinking about what it is we could do to be helpful here at HBS Online to support students in this moment when, you know, the plans you might have had for your summer, they may be going forward, or they may be getting changed, or they may be getting changed quite drastically. That students could do to build their own skills and credentials at this time, and can we make that easier by removing some of the financial barriers or minimizing them to the minimal that we can. And so we thought that was a wonderful offer. We were really glad to be a part of that. And so this is, I think, both a presentation about HBS Core Online and what it is, but also we can pause a moment at the end and talk about sort of the particular rate that's being offered to Bowdoin, which is exciting. So thank you to Brittany, who works on strategic alliances, meaning relationships with people like us and with employers whose people take these courses. So we have a ton of expertise in the room, and really just grateful you're spending your evening with us. Thanks, Brittany.
It's really great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be with you all this evening. It's been a really interesting time, and I think for me, I'm also a graduate student as well as working at HBS Online, so I'm feeling the effects as a student transitioning to online learning, as well as trying to help schools and employers deal with this shift. So it's been really interesting, and I think it's a moment of opportunity for sure, and taking time to explore learning opportunities like Core and just being here today, I think, is a great first step of exploring options for how to move forward from where we're at now and to position yourself well for the future. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Core program, give a background about how it came to be, what you might expect from that type of learning environment, and then go into the offer that Kristen had mentioned about our summer Core programs we're offering at a significant discount for Bowdoin students to try to alleviate some of the financial costs to the program. Hopefully it would be valuable to you in your studies this summer. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, here we are. So I briefly put together some information to give you an overview of HBS Online if you weren't already familiar with us. Some program-specific details for Core, some of the learning impact and outcomes we've seen with the program, and then details about what it would take for you to earn the credential and ultimately enroll in the program. And I would really love to answer any and all questions. If you have them while I'm speaking, please type them into the chat. If you'd like to wait till the end of my slides, I promise they won't be too long. I would love to hear you on video or audio if you'd like to ask your question in person. So essentially at HBS, we tried to take the in-person classroom experience that you would get at the business school and translate it into an online space. And we have these three pillars for our learning model to focus on being active, being social, and being case-based. So what that means is you are going through in a cohort of peers, that's the social element, and you are actively participating in the learning. And we use the case method for instruction here at Harvard Business School. So you get a taste of all of that within the Core program. And I think we actually have some former Core participants in the audience, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll be really happy to have folks share their experience at the end of our program, because it's always nice to hear from people who have been there. So to give you a better picture of what I'm talking about, I wanted to show you a video of what you would expect to see in the Core platform. Let me just pull up the video here. All right. So this is just a quick overview of what you would see in the platform, and it gives a better view of what I just explained in a visual format. Thumbs up if you can hear the audio. Great, thank you.
I can hear your audio, but this audio is a little bit faint, I'd say.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, Brittany, I was saying I hear you very well, but the audio on the video projection is a little bit low for me.
Okay, let me try that again.
Approach to online learning. Our online courses bring the best features of the Harvard Business School on-campus experience to life in a digital environment. Each course is developed by leading faculty and features immersive case studies, interactive teaching tools, and a supportive peer learning community. We know you're busy, so our courses are thoughtfully designed to be flexible, yet structured, to help you gain the knowledge you need in the time you have. Curious how this plays out in practice? Let's take a closer look. Central to each online program is the CASE method, a discussion-based learning model pioneered by Harvard Business School that puts learners in the shoes of decision makers and has them tackle real-world business problems. These decision makers are called protagonists and come from companies both large and small across a wide range of industries and geographies. At the beginning of each case, a faculty member sets the stage through a short video.
To give you some practice, I want you to analyze a few short scenarios and ask how you might create value in those particular situations.
The case protagonists then discuss a business challenge they faced.
And we said to ourselves, what is it that they want? What is it that from their side that would make them feel as though this is a more comfortable scenario than perhaps they originally considered?
And you are asked to make decisions based on the facts provided. You may hear from C-suite executives at multinational firms, entrepreneurs, investors, nonprofit leaders, or small business owners. By hearing directly from the protagonists, you gain new perspectives and refine your critical thinking skills. With me so far? Great. That brings me to the second pillar of our programs, social learning. When you step into a Harvard Business School classroom, you are expected to engage. The diversity of perspectives enriches the discussion and is central to the learning process. In our courses, the same principle applies. It's typical to see learners from up to 50 different countries in any given course. Let's explore a few of the ways you might engage with others in your program. Peer help. Not quite grasping a concept, this is where you go to pose a question or to help others who may need a little extra support. Star or comment on others' responses. Instantly give recognition for an insightful comment or start a conversation. Direct messaging. Chat one-on-one with another learner in your program. Profile search. Find people with similar interests or professional backgrounds. As you can see, there's a lot going on, but this is intentional. It's what we call active learning. The more engaged you are, the more you learn, which is why we follow a 3 to 5 minute rule for each program, meaning roughly every 3 to 5 minutes, you're asked to engage with the material. That might mean watching a short faculty video, or completing a poll, or hearing from a case protagonist and then responding to a cold call. Oh, the dreaded cold calls. Let's take a closer look at how these work. At Harvard Business School, most case discussions start off with a student being called on by their professor. The cold call intentionally puts them on the spot, forces them to articulate a position given the information available, and requires them to be concise in their response. In our online courses, you will be cold called several times. You will then have a few minutes to compose a response, which is, of course, shared with your peers. Some find it mildly, nerve-wracking. Consider it a chance to practice one of the most essential skills in business, the ability to succinctly state your position in a clear, informed manner. Ultimately, what we care about is keeping you engaged in the work of furthering your education and your career. You want to advance, and we want to help you get there. It's why we created an online learning experience that brings participants together from around the world and gives them real-world business skills.
Great. So I hope that painted a better picture than what I was able to describe in just a few words there.
All right, so I wanted to talk about the HBX core program that's offered through Harvard.
Sorry
I'm not
about that.
affiliated
My
with Harvard or
screen's still
HBX in
sharing.
any way, but I am currently taking the course.
So I just wanted to give folks a taste of what the program really is all about in terms of active social case-based, because we think that really defines the HBS online program when you're thinking about which type of online program you'd like to join. So moving on here to the core program specifically, it's 150 total hours of learning. So it's quite a program, but it's chock filled with business analytics, economics, and financial accounting courses. You take these 3 courses all together, and then there's a final exam at the end. And in normal times, we would have the final exam as an in-person experience, but because of the COVID crisis, we're now delivering the exam virtually. So that's good news for folks. You don't have to worry about going to a testing center to get that completed. So there's, a sampling here of some of the topics you can expect to cover in each course. You would take the courses together in either 8, 10, 12, or 17 weeks long. The programs vary in length, but it's the same course material, just either spread out over 17 weeks or compressed into shorter timeframes. And the core program for May and June, our next cohorts coming up, those are both 10-week programs. So you would expect to spend between 12 and 15 hours a week doing this coursework for that 10-week period. And what's great about the online platform is you can really do it on your own time. Whenever you have a chance to log in and get the coursework done, that's great. You can log in and do it whenever is convenient for you. Just know that there are weekly deadlines that you have to hit, and that keeps you on track with the cohort so that you're moving along at the same pace as everyone else, and there's not one person who's cruising through the course or folks who are lagging behind on the other side. Everyone's moving through the course with their cohort, and that contributes to that peer-to-peer experience you might have been hearing about in the video. So why did we create CORE? You might be thinking, we have Harvard Business School here in Cambridge. Why did you decide to go online? And essentially what happened was the core faculty members, the faculty for business analytics, economics, and financial accounting, wanted to be able to make this content available to more people. So alas, HBS Online was born. And originally we thought this would be a great program for our incoming MBA students to give them a refresher on some of these basic fundamental business topics, which was great. And we continue to offer that to them. But then we realized, it's not just MBA students who need this information. There's a lot of folks out there, especially folks younger in their careers, looking to dabble in the world of business. And the CORE program really gives people that language and confidence to have those discussions, either at their workplace, in their internships, just learning about the business world if you hadn't had access to that in your existing curriculum of studies, or if you were thinking about an MBA program and wanted to get your feet wet and try out some of this coursework. It's also, the CORE program, a great way to understand the learning model at HBS with the case method. It's very different learning than what I was used to in my studies, so it's cool to challenge yourself with new ways of thinking. And also, it's a very global cohort of folks that you'll be learning with, which is very different. At least for me, the school that I went to was very homogenous. So it's cool to get into a platform where there's a lot of different perspectives, people from all different age ranges, industries, walks of life that you can learn from. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits of joining the CORE program. So I'm going to move on here unless there's any questions. I haven't seen any pop up yet, but feel free to chime into the chat or save them to the end. So I wanted to bring to light some of the research we've done to figure out, what are people getting out of this program? So we were delightfully surprised to see that almost, 93% said it bolstered their resume. People are receiving promotions as a result of their coursework, gained confidence, new skills that they've developed. And 77% of people said they gained greater clarity about their professional future, which I think is really important, especially as you're students now trying to figure out what type of path you want to lay for yourself after you leave Bowdoin. So it's really encouraging to see the feedback like this about our learners and what they're doing after they take our courses. And I have a link here. We'll share the slides afterwards. If you want to take some time to dig in and hear from people who've taken the core program, see, you know, what their backgrounds were, what they're doing now, and what they found to be most valuable. So digging into the logistics here and the fine print. So what it would take for you to earn the core credential. So at the end of the 10 weeks, you have your final exam. Hopefully you have a successful exam experience, and you would get an exam, or sorry, you would get a final status of either pass, fail. We don't assign grades to the core program, but you do have the ability to earn honors or high honors if you are one of the top performers in your cohort. We'll be asking folks to complete all 17 modules of the program, and you must complete all the quizzes in order to sit for the exam. So we want to make sure you've completed the program before we test you on the material. We do offer some flexibility in terms of late quizzes and dropping the lowest score from each course, because we know life happens and sometimes, you know, you miss a deadline. We don't want to penalize you for that, but we do want to keep folks on track with the cohort. And then again, we have that 3-hour final exam, which is being delivered virtually. And then participation is also 20% of your grade. So the final exam is 50% of your final grade. The quiz scores are about 30%, and then participation is about 20%. And it weighs so heavily because we have that strong emphasis on the peer-to-peer learning. We're expecting that you're contributing to the conversations in the platform and helping your peers learn as they're helping you learn. It really is a group effort to get to the end together. So that's a little bit about earning the certificate and getting through the program successfully. In terms of cost, I think Kristen might be able to help us out with some other details, but essentially the price for core is discounted significantly for the May and June cohorts because you are a student at Bowdoin. So regardless of your financial need level, we are offering the core program for $450. That includes all the learning materials you will need for the 3 courses. That includes your final exam and the credential, assuming you successfully complete, which I'm sure you will. So there are some, usually there's some need-based scholarships that we would be able to award, and for May and June specifically this year, we're not even gonna look at whether you need scholarship or not. We're just gonna offer you that $450. That is the lowest price we've ever offered core for, so we're hoping that more people can take advantage of it this summer with the reduced cost. So it looks like there is actually a question in the chat about how will time difference impact participation? That is a great question, Amira. Thank you for asking it. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the program, because it's a global cohort and it's designed so that you can log in anytime. It doesn't really matter where in the world you are. You can participate just as fully as anybody anywhere else, provided that you have, you know, a decent internet connection. I think that can be the caveat with different geographies. But as long as you're able to log in and complete your coursework on time, you're contributing to the discussions in the platform, you're responding to the people's posts when it asks you to respond to reflections from your peers, there's no reason why you can't fully participate, no matter where you are in the world. Great question. Okay. So I'm going to move on to our next slide. And this is specifically how you would go about applying and enrolling to the core program. So we're going to be recognizing that you're a Bowdoin student based off of your campus email address. We'll be asking you to create your HBS online account using your campus email. And when you go onto our website, you'll have to apply to the core program. Make sure that you're applying for the non-credit version. We do have some institutions that will take the credit offered. If you take the 4-credit core cohort, that means that you are enrolling in 8 credits of core offered by the Harvard Extension School, and sometimes schools will honor that credit as transfer credit back to your home institution. To my knowledge, I don't think Bowdoin does that, but Kristen, please correct me if I'm wrong. In any
Yeah, we don't, but really also the best reason to apply in the non-credit cohort is that they're $450.
Yes, that was where I was going next.
Yeah.
Is the $450 offer is only for the non-credit version of core. So if you were to apply for the 4-credit May option, you wouldn't see the promo code option. It would ask you to pay a much higher fee actually. So if you do go through the, you go through the process, you accidentally apply for credit, not a big deal. We can help you switch back to the non-credit version, but it's definitely easier if you get it right the first time. And traditionally, when you're applying for the core program as a Bowdoin student and you are requesting financial aid, there's a question in the application that would ask you if you want to be considered for scholarship. In this instance, you don't want to request any scholarship because we're giving you the promo code to honor that discounted price already. So we don't need to consider any financial aid need during this time. So don't request any scholarship. Make sure you've got the non-credit core cohort. And then usually within 2 to 3 days of submitting your application, we get back to you with a decision. Once you're admitted, you can enroll right away using that promo code SummerCore 2020. Enter that into the promo code field and it'll drop the payment down to $450. And you can pay that with a credit card right there on the screen. So if you were looking to get into the May cohort, which is the next one coming up, we'll ask that you submit your application by May 11th, so 2 weeks from yesterday. And then you have until May 14th to actually submit your payment and secure your enrollment for May. The program starts on the 19th of May, goes till the end of July, followed by that 2-week exam period. And then the June cohort dates are there as well. You have a little bit more time to think about the June cohort. It's also 10 weeks long, so it'll finish a little bit later in the summer, just about around Labor Day. So just thinking about what your plans are for the fall and late summer, it might determine whether you'd like to start in May or June. Okay, so that was pretty much the gist of what I had prepared, but I'm happy to take any questions or if there are students who have experience with core that would like to share or answer questions from their peers, I would love to have that opportunity there as well.
Hi, Brittany. Can you hear me?
I can, George. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I think you pretty much said everything, but just one more thing. Just personally for me, was getting into a routine is really powerful, and this program doesn't really just have to be for people trying to break into Wall Street. It's if you're interested in going into marketing or analytics, it's a great initiative.
Yeah, just for a little background for everyone else, George had reached out to me on LinkedIn a few days ago and had expressed how much he enjoyed the core program and was looking forward to our session today. So I had asked him if he would feel comfortable sharing a little bit about his experience, and I appreciate your sharing there, George, because it really is a different experience for every person, depending on what your learning goals are and what you're trying to get out of the program. So thank you for sharing that. Looks like we have another question in the chat here from T Green. Can we ask for financial aid if we want the credit version? So that is a little bit different from the offer I've just explained. If you were looking to do the 4-credit version, you would want to make sure first that the credits would transfer back to your home institution. So you'd want to check in with the registrar there to make sure that they would take the credits before you sign up for it. It does come at a higher cost to take 4-credit core, and the financial aid is actually managed through the Harvard Extension School. It's not managed through Bowdoin or HBS Online.
Brittany, it's essentially the content. Can you speak to the content across the courses? Quite similar, same?
The content between the 4-credit and the non-credit core is exactly the same. Right. Essentially, the only difference is whether you're getting those credits from the Harvard Extension School or you're just taking the course for your own learning and benefit. That's really the only difference between the 4-credit and the non-credit. Exactly.
Right. And the credential that you can list on your resume and speak about in interview is exactly the same.
Exactly. Looks like Don has asked, if we sign up for the credit system already and got accepted, how can we ask for financial aid? So Khan, I think if I'm understanding your question correctly, you've signed up for 4 credit and got accepted, and you want to take advantage of the $450 rate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to proceed.
That's somewhere where I was going with. I applied and got accepted, and I did not know about the difference between the credit and non-credit versions.
Sure.
Thought it's better to apply for credit since, getting credits is better than not getting any credits. But when I was applying, I did not know that we were not allowed to apply for the $450 rate. So I was wondering if there would be any way we can apply for financial aid of any sorts, or, this is not just a question for you, this is also a question for CXT, whether the college would be willing to cover for us.
Yeah, so I think I can take that one, at least from the college perspective. So as Brittany just explained, the process for granting financial aid is under neither, for the credit version, is in the hands of the Harvard Extension School, which is neither me nor Brittany. So it's very hard for us to speak to what they would do. My just advice to you all, given that the content is exactly the same, the ability to credential yourselves externally with employers and in interviews is exactly the same, and that it's $450 with only putting in a promo code, I would just do that. And so one of the things we've done to make that easier for you all is, if you'll keep an eye out, if you're a senior, for the emails directly from me that are coming out on Wednesdays and Fridays. And if you're first year, second year, third year student, the emails that are coming from Handshake, also on now Wednesdays and Fridays. We're now going to start attaching literally a step-by-step, including screenshots, set of instructions about what to do at every step. So in the earlier communications, I'd included things like, don't do the credit version, but I think, people read things in different order. So we literally have a step-by-step. And if you've done something that isn't in the instructions, like applied for scholarship when you don't actually need to, or applied for the credit version, that's okay. We can work with you to unroll that you can use this email here for some help. And if that doesn't do it, you don't get sort of all the way through what you need by consulting this wonderful helpline here, then you can also email cpc@bowdoin.edu. Liz Coffey picks up all of those emails and has gotten quite good at troubleshooting, unrolling anything in the enrollment procedure that you didn't mean to do. Hopefully that's helpful for everybody.
Yeah, and I apologize for all the caveats of only apply for credit, only apply for non-credit, only apply for it's a little bit of a hurdle just because our system wasn't designed for this, but we wanted to try to make it happen as quickly as possible to get this out to people. So again, like Kristen said, reach out to us. Please don't let the steps hinder you from applying or proceeding. If there's an error and you can't find what you need to see, we will reach out and make it right. So please let us know if you need help along the way.
Yeah, we can appreciate that. This is something you're creating to automatically extend scholarship to every single person in a partner college like us. So you can't, to build it, we're all building systems as we go, and we can support you all with that as well. Looks like there's a couple more questions. How competitive is the application process? Are there prereqs? And then there's something about deadlines for each module.
Right, yeah, so the application process is, I wouldn't call it competitive. We're essentially looking for a baseline English proficiency and a general interest in the program, right? So we want folks who are going to be committed to completing the coursework, interacting with their peer group, and generally interested in successfully completing the program. And because it is in English, we definitely need to make sure that you can read and write English. So that's really the only two things that the application is screening for. It should take you about 10 minutes to complete. It's not extensive at all. You don't need any type of recommendations or test scores. Essentially, we want to know your academic history. We'll ask you to complete a short open response, 100 words or so, just why you're interested in taking core. So the application's really quick, and then the team's been turning them around within 2 days or so. So you'd find out relatively quickly if you were accepted. And right now, I think the last I checked, our acceptance is about 85 to 90. We're somewhere in that range. So odds are pretty good you would get accepted. We had a question from Jonathan about when are the weekly deadlines for each module. So you would have 17 modules in the course, and there's 10 weeks. So there's going to be some weeks where you have to do more than one module. Actually, I think almost every week would make you do at least one module. So the module is essentially like a bunch of course concepts that you will learn, activities, polls, reflections, the cold calls that you saw in the video. So you'd go through the module of all the learning for that week or weeks, and then it culminates with a quiz. It's 20 questions, and you can go back into the coursework to review concepts before you submit your quiz, and it's untimed, so you definitely don't want to rush. But typically you would have about a week or 2 weeks to complete each module. And most of them, we say 12 to 15 hours a week, considering you're usually working on multiple modules in a given week. I hope that was helpful, Jonathan. When you do enroll in either, whatever cohort you choose, there is a detailed calendar that the team will share with you so you can plan your time. And that also includes estimates of how long past participants have spent on each module, so you can kind of gauge how you want to set up your time management for the week. As George said, that was key to his success in the program. Alex asked, does the program require any previous coursework in economic classes? Great question, Alex. I think a lot of us can be hesitant to sign up for something if it's new content for us, but the core program was designed for folks with zero knowledge of these topics to come in and have a really successful experience learning about the concepts from like ground zero. You don't have to have any background in economics, business analytics, or finance to get a lot out of these courses.
I have a question for you, Brittany, while more questions from students come in. I have described this to the aspiring scientists among our Bowdoin students and the aspiring social justice leaders and nonprofit leaders as a potential secret superpower, which is at least what I've found it to be, that when it turns out that you're running a nonprofit, you actually know how to do financial analysis or create a case with data, you tend to win the argument about where resources should go or what should happen for vulnerable people or in a lab. Any thoughts about or comments on what people who don't think of themselves as conventional business people might get out of this?
Sure. Yeah, I think for folks who are interested in business, this kind of lays the groundwork for what you would continue to go on and study or learn about in an internship or in an MBA program. But for a lot of folks, the core program is an accessible way to learn about those topics in a real low pressure environment. And like you said, if you're going into a career that, you might not have had a background in business, but you can start talking the language of business in those conversations, like people will be impressed. And I think with the students we've seen benefit the most, they're not necessarily students from business backgrounds. They're students from the arts, they're engineers, they're students who want to be able to have conversations that they otherwise wouldn't have the language to participate in. At least for me, I took the financial accounting course, and I started to realize I already kind of knew some of the concepts, I just didn't have the words to describe what I knew. So for students who are intimidated by any of these courses, I think it definitely gives you an advantage just by having exposure to the language that you would use in those conversations and bolstering yourself up for a career, maybe not in business, but being able to have those business conversations in a confident way.
More questions from anyone? We're happy to take a couple more so you get your questions answered. Feel free to write them in the chat or just unmute yourself. Or any words of advice from others who may have taken the course and want to speak to their experience as a Bowdoin student.
Just in terms of this coming cohort, there are going to be a lot of Bowdoin students participating. We had a lot last year, but it's going to be a big plus with just a lot more people doing it this year. So a lot of collaboration.
And speaking to that too, a lot of folks in normal times would organize study groups with folks in their local areas. And the strength of the community that you build shouldn't be understated. And I think, I don't know, George, if you have any experience with this, but after the course ends, we invite folks to join our global chapters. We have over 40 global chapters now, the newest one from Australia. Like, it's amazing to me the strength of the networking that happens in an online space. Our participants are out doing book clubs, they're organizing speaker panels in cities all over the world to try to stay connected to the peers that they met in the program. And I think that is one of the understated benefits of the HBS Online platform, especially if you're thinking about exploring different careers, you're looking to have informational interviews with people, tapping into the people that you see on the platform as you're working through the module, and you're like, oh, hey, that guy works in, you know, the industry that I've been wanting to learn about. Reach out to them. I think you'll find the community is full of people not like you, but with a similar mindset of wanting to be helpful, wanting to explore, wanting to do good things and keep learning. So I'm always tooting the horn of the community because I'm always amazed at the strength of the bonds people form in this online space.
We have a question in the chat. What's the grade needed to pass the exam? Is it curved?
Yeah, so the grade isn't curved, but we do have cut scores. So I can't remember exactly the number, if it's 45 or so questions per course. But essentially the 3-hour exam is really 3 sections. It's a section for business analytics, a section for economics, and a section for financial accounting. I think it's about 45 questions for each one. So you complete one course before moving on to the next. And there is a threshold that you need to meet in order to pass the exam. But remember, the exam's not the only thing that gets factored into your grade. Participation and your quiz scores also factor in. So while we do need you to pass the exam, it's not the only thing that contributes to passing the course. And we do have a little bit of flexibility. If you happen to not do so great in business analytics, but you pass financial accounting and economics exams, we'll let you come back and retake that piece that you didn't do so great on, so that you can still pass the program.
That's great. Any final questions for Brittany? Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you particularly, Brittany, for spending your evening with us. Do feel free to encourage anyone who did not get a chance to come in person among your classmates to consult the video. We'll have the location for that in one of our next communications. So I'm sending emails every week now on Wednesdays and Fridays to seniors, and Handshake, our team via Handshake, is sending emails every Wednesday and Friday to every other class list. So keep an eye out there. That's where you'll find things like the link to this video and questions that might have come up that are useful for everyone, as well as the blow-by-blow how to enroll instructions. So thanks everybody here for contributing your experiences too. And thanks so much, Brittany. We really appreciate not just you being here, but the generous effort to essentially make this available to everyone at the lowest possible cost that they'll still support your own cost model. Like, that's what we're talking about here, is an active, incredible generosity by a partner of ours, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for all your support. I really am open to, you know, any support I can lend to students or questions that we can answer to try to help. We're here, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.